The radical. Fundamental principles of freedom, rational self-interest, and individual rights. This is the Yaron Brook Show.
All right, everybody, welcome to Yaron Brook Show on this Tuesday, March 11th. We are marching through March. Hope everybody's having a fantastic week so far. I don't know, the weather here in Puerto Rico could not be nicer. It is, 85 degrees and the sun is shining, not a cloud in the sky. Humidity for Puerto Rico relatively low. It is a beautiful day in Puerto Rico. I hope you're enjoying the weather wherever you are. We were at the beach on Sunday. Sunday was fun at the beach. Perfect beach weather. All right, let's review what we're going to talk about today. We are going to talk Ukraine, breaking news on the Ukraine front, right out of Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, the hub of all negotiations these days. We'll talk a little bit about Elon Musk, who's increasingly becoming unhinged. I mean, God, I don't know what's going on with Elon, but he really is losing it. We'll talk about Trump and Canada and tariffs and stock markets and all of that stuff, plus Trump trying to help Elon. Budget, continuing resolution, which the House should be passing today or tomorrow. And then some development is out of Syria. And this whole thing about Khalil, the green card holder that's been arrested for his participation or leadership of the pro-Hamas demonstrations on Columbia campus, and whether that's a violation of his First Amendment rights or whatever. We'll talk about that. And finally, a couple of cool, positive science stories. That's the one area, science and engineering, the one area where there's still good things going on. Good things going on in the world. All right, I see we've already got 3 stickers. Anonymous user, thank you. Sylvanas, thank you. Tom, thank you. Tom, you coming to the London seminar? We will see. Let's see. Reminder, you can use the Superchat to both support the show and to ask questions and enhance the show that way, make the show more interesting, or answer or pivot the show in direction of topics you want me to talk about. You just stick in a question. You can ask questions for $2, $5, $10, $20, all the way up to $500. It won't accept questions for more than $500, but that is available. Please consider using that and engaging. Let's have an engaged audience. I try not to read the chat as it's happening. That's mainly for your entertainment. So if you want to ask a question that actually gets answered by me, then the Super Chat is the way to do it. All right. Today in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, not Riyadh, it was in Jeddah, where Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, also known as MBS, facilitated a negotiating session between the United States and Ukraine. It was agreed that Ukraine would accept a 30-day ceasefire, the current position. So this, I'm sure you guys are all, relieved that Ukraine will stop sending drones to New York City and blowing up buildings there. And it's great that America agreed to this ceasefire and will no longer be fighting on the borders of Ukraine. That is a good thing. Anyway, yes, so 2 parties that are not involved in combat actually agreed to a ceasefire. This is amazing. The United States and Ukraine agreed to 30-day interim ceasefire. Of course, the assumption is that, or the condition has to be, that the actual initiator force, combatant, Russia, will agree to same. So the United States indeed has agreed to communicate to Russia that Russian reciprocity is the key to achieving peace. And of course, all this is subject to acceptance and concurrent implementation by the Russian Federation. Who knows what Putin is going to do? He might want a round of negotiating too. Really, really hard to tell. Anyway, as part of this agreement, the United States is also starting to share intelligence information as well and providing a military aid, although exactly the extent of that military aid is not clear, but it does seem like all the military aid that has been promised will start flowing again to Ukraine. And more importantly, I think for the Ukrainians right now, intelligence sharing will be resumed. In addition to that, Zelensky formally apologized to Donald Trump. Not clear exactly for what, but he did apologize in a letter over the weekend. Zelensky apologized, and I think that's why this agreement was achieved. Otherwise, the United States would continue to bomb Ukrainian positions. What else happened? The statement starts with a praising of the bravery of the Ukrainian people in defense of their nation. So I guess Zelensky got a little bit there in terms of acknowledging that they're defending and acknowledging that they are brave. And then there's a whole paragraph how the Ukrainian people really, really, really are thankful to Donald Trump, although why they should be, I don't know. All the aid they've received was received from President Biden. So, but it is Donald Trump and U.S. Congress and the people of the United States. So Trump got the appropriate groveling that he demands, requires, the kissing of the ring that is required. The United States did get the apology. The other thing, of course, at the end of the press release, there's also a statement that both countries' presidents agree to conclude as soon as possible a comprehensive agreement for developing Ukraine's critical mineral resources to expand Ukraine's economy, offset the cost of American assistance, and guarantee Ukraine's long-term prosperity and security. So we've got a big deal here, although, of course, until Russia agrees, it's all just meaningless. Russia has to think about whether a 30-day ceasefire is in its strategic advantage or not, whether it allows it to recoup some of the losses, get some fresh troops, move people strategically to where they need them to be. Who knows? We'll see how Putin responds to this in the hours and days to come. But Trump achieved what he wanted to achieve. A deal. There's a deal. It's not between the parties that are relevant, but it's the beginning of a deal. Anyway, I don't know if this had anything to do with it, but last night the Ukrainians pounded Russia with 90-something drones. It's the largest attack against Russia, in particular Moscow, since September of last year. 3 people were killed in Moscow, so the drones hit targets in Moscow. I think Ukraine, on the eve of sitting down with Americans, a little show of strength. Hey, we can do stuff. Even without your intelligence help, America, we can actually go and we can get stuff done and we can cause pain to the Russians. So, I don't know if that helped seal a deal or not, but certainly Ukraine flexed muscles last night in attacking Russia. In the meantime, leading up to these negotiations, I'd say MAGA and Elon just lost the plot completely. I mean, they become so anti-Ukraine. It is absurd. Here's a tweet. Ukraine is the single biggest terrorist threat facing the United States. The oligarchs want their money. They'll use their neo-Nazi militias to terrorize us into giving it. This is from Cernovich, a well-known alt-right MAGA participant. Just insane. Just crazy stuff, completely unrelated to reality. Elon, in the meantime, God, I don't know if you saw this yesterday, but yesterday, Senator Mark Kelly, a Democratic senator from Arizona, tweeted on Twitter, Elon Musk's Twitter, he tweeted, just left Ukraine. What I saw proved to me we can't give up on the Ukrainian people. Everyone wants this war to end, but any agreement has to protect Ukraine's security and can't be a giveaway to Putin. Let me tell you about my trip and why it's important we stand with Ukraine. And then he goes on a thread about Ukraine, right? I mean, pretty normal stuff, right? Elon Musk responds to that, you are a traitor. A traitor. A traitor? You are a traitor. I mean, that's just insane. It's just completely unhinged, unrelated to reality. You can't even express a mild, positive opinion about Ukraine without being called a traitor. Elon is, I think, officially nuts. He's gone off the deep end. There are real problems there. He's got real problems there. Also yesterday, as you know, if you're watching the show at 1 o'clock, which was early yesterday, Twitter crashed on me. I couldn't access Twitter. A lot of you couldn't access Twitter. And it turned out there was a massive hack and a distributed denial of service attack on X that was successful. And it took it a few hours to get service up and back to normal. Elon Musk almost immediately went out and announced that this was a Ukrainian attack. This is Ukrainian hackers. Within a few minutes after that, it was acknowledged and admitted to that this was a Russian hacking entity, pro-Palestinian, supported by Russia, hacking entity that did this. But Elon's immediate response was, Ukraine, it's Ukraine's fault. There were some pretty funny responses, to that. The one response was, one of the funny responses was, and what Elon, Elon should immediately offer to give Ukraine half of X in order to achieve a ceasefire and stop the hack. He should immediately compromise with the aggressor, in this case, the Ukrainian hackers. No, Russian hackers. And but yes, he's gonna jump on anything Ukrainian. By the way, just as an aside, one of the best performing stocks in Europe right now over the last week or so is a French satellite company called Eutelstat, which has plans to send approximately 40,000 communication terminals. Satellite. It has tons of satellites, but plan to send 40,000 communication terminals to Ukraine to replace Starlink, and its stock is up 390% basically in 3 days, which is interesting as, again, the Europeans seek greater independence from Trump, Elon, and more broadly the U.S. So that is part of it. Of course, Elon is also taking a constant beating from Bannon. Bannon despises Elon Musk. And, of course, last week there was this clash in the White House between members of the cabinet, including Marco Rubio and Elon, and heated words and about who has authority over what, in which, in the end, Trump had to step in and basically put Elon in his place and explain that the cabinet members actually controlled their departments, and that Elon could make recommendations, but could not fire them, fire people. Bannon immediately went out there attacking Elon Musk. To quote Bannon, I don't want to say an anchor or lodestone Elon Musk represents for Trump. He said anchor or lodestone, for the president. It's not that yet, but it's trending. This is starting to affect everybody. Of course, Bannon has called Elon Musk a parasitic illegal immigrant and a truly evil person. So Yeah, I mean, MAGA is split between those who are loyal to Musk and the kind of the tech bros who are loyal to Musk, and those who are loyal to Steve Bannon who think Musk is a negative influence on Trump and on Trump's agenda. But there is a lot of conflict, it appears, within the administration with regard to Musk's role and what exactly it entails, and who has the power, who actually is the decision maker. For now, Trump has sided with his cabinet and reaffirmed that. All right. Well, I'm sure Musk must have been quite happy today because Donald Trump did come out with a strong expression of support for Musk in the following post that Donald Trump made. I mean, this is the president of the United States tweeting or wherever he puts these things up. To Republicans, conservatives, and all great Americans, Elon Musk is putting it on the line in order to help our nation, and he is doing a fantastic job. But the radical left lunatics, as they often do, are trying to illegally, you tell me if this is illegal, illegally and collusively boycott Tesla, one of the world's great automakers, and Elon's baby, in order to attack and do harm to Elon and everything he stands for. They tried to do it to me at the 2024 presidential ballot box, but how did that work out? In any event, I'm going to buy a brand new Tesla tomorrow morning as a show of confidence and support for Elon Musk, a truly great American. Why should he be punished for putting his tremendous skill to work in order to make America great again? So, a few things. One, President of the United States urging his supporters to buy Teslas implicitly. He's going to buy a Tesla to support Elon Musk, and so should everybody else. And then the boycotting of Teslas by some on the left, including a lot of people in Europe, it looks like, is illegal? Collusive? I mean, really? How's it illegal? I can buy whatever car I want. I don't like American cars. I don't need to buy an American car. I don't need to buy a Tesla. Although Trump is very upset that I'm not buying an American car. I wouldn't be surprised if in the next few days there was an announcement from the government saying that they have decided to standardize their automobile fleet. It costs too much money to have gas-guzzling automobiles of all kinds of makes and designs, and therefore all government cars are from now on going to be Teslas, except, of course, for the presidential motorcade, which will still be those massive, big, bulletproof SUVs. But yes, Tesla, America's car, American government's car, the president's car, whatever. Yeah. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to have the president of the United States now endorse product endorsements. I mean, I don't know if you saw the video of RFK endorsing Steak and Shake, because their fries are made with, what do you call it, fat, rather than with those evil seed oils. So we've got cabinet ministers and the president of the United States endorsing products to the American people, to their followers. Tallow, thank you, tallow. It's made with tallow, beef tallow. God. I mean, this is a circus. We have not a government, but a circus. All right, let's see. Where are we? All right. So this morning, markets opened, and you could tell from the futures markets, stocks were going to be up a little bit, and the market opened up, and then Trump announced more tariffs, and stocks took a nosedive. Now they've all recovered and they're up again, mainly I think because of the news out of Ukraine, and also because the Ukraine news is just more emphasis on how the president could go, anyway. Also, I think economists are coming out with expectations about the inflation number tomorrow. It will be low, and that'll give room for the Fed to cut interest rates, but nobody really knows what the inflation number is going to be tomorrow. So markets are seesawing all over the place. Uncertainty is just driving the stock market crazy. So best thing to do, don't look at your portfolio. Don't try to figure it out. Just let it ride. Just let it ride at this point. Because who knows how it's going to behave tomorrow or the day after. Anyway, today, this morning, Donald Trump decided that immediately, starting, I think, tomorrow, to inflict additional 25% tariffs on all steel, aluminum coming into the United States from Canada. Now, this raises the tariff on these products from 25%, which was imposed a few weeks ago, to 50%. And all this done for national security reasons, right? Because it's really, really important that we tariff our ally more than our enemy, or perceived enemy, on steel and aluminum, because those are strategic for us, and therefore we must use national security arguments to place these tariffs. Here's what Donald Trump said. Based on Ontario, Canada placing a 25% tariff on electricity coming into the United States, I've instructed my Secretary of Commerce to add additional 25% to 50% on all steel and aluminum coming into the United States from Canada, one of the highest tariffing nations anywhere in the world. National security? Nah, just retaliation. The guy in Ontario, Canada pissed him off with the electricity tariffs, so we're going to tariff them into oblivion. And of course, Canada is one of the highest tariffing nations in the world. Don't we have a free trade agreement with Canada that you, Donald Trump, signed, negotiated? It was the greatest deal ever at the time, and signed. And these tariffs go into effect March 12th. Also, he continues, Canada must immediately adopt the anti-American farmer tariffs of 250 to 390% on various U.S. dairy products, which has long been considered outrageous. I will shortly be declaring a national emergency on electricity within the threatened area. This will allow the U.S. to quickly do what has to be done to alleviate this abusive threat from Canada. If other egregious long-time tariffs are not likewise dropped by Canada, I will substantially increase on April 2nd the tariffs on cars coming into the United States, which will essentially permanently shut down the automobile manufacturing business in Canada. Not likely. Those cars can easily be made in the USA. Also, Canada pays very little for national security, relying on the United States for military protection. We are subsidizing Canada to the tune of more than $200 billion a year. Why? 3 question marks. This cannot continue. The only thing that makes sense is for Canada to become our cherished 51st state. This would make all tariffs and everything else totally disappear. Canadians' taxes will be very substantially reduced. They will be more secure militarily and otherwise than ever before. There would no longer be a northern border problem, and the greatest and most powerful nation in the world will be bigger, better, and stronger than ever. And Canada will be a big part of that. The artificial line of separation drawn many years ago will finally disappear, and we will have the safest and most beautiful nation anywhere in the world. And your brilliant anthem, O Canada, will continue to play, but now representing a great and powerful state within the greatest nation the world has ever seen. You have a president, or we have a president, who's a nutcase. I mean, he's not sane. This is completely crazy. And this idea of Canada becoming a 51st state keeps appearing. I mean, today in a press conference, what's her name? Levitt, who is the press secretary, who answers all the questions in the press briefings, was asked about tariffs in Canada, and her response was basically, here's the response. Press Secretary Caroline Levitt says, the question was, does the administration still consider Canada to be a close ally of the United States? The answer is, President Trump believes Canadians will be better served economically, militarily, if they become the 51st state. I mean, it really is just crazy. And stupid and insulting, and what is the point? I still don't, what exactly is the point? What is it about Canada that's so offensive to Donald Trump? Now, I get it, that because he has a mentality of a mafiosa, to a large extent, what matters to him, like Putin, very much like Putin, is how much land he controls. That is, the greatness of America is partially the size of its geographic holdings, and Canada would make America a bigger country, a significantly bigger country. And territorial acquisition is part of what thugs and mafiosos and dictators and authoritarians seek. Everything is material. But, you know, Canada has been nothing but an ally to the United States in almost every conflict that is of any significance. The NAFTA and the equivalent of NAFTA is basically lower tariffs on almost everything. Yes, Canada has very high tariffs and restrictions on the importation of milk products into Canada. But I know this will come as a shock to Americans, but so does the United States. A free market in milk would be a great achievement if it can be achieved between the two countries. They have a strong milk lobby. The United States, America has a strong milk lobby that prevents that from happening. We also have a very strong sugar lobby and a corn lobby and lots of lobbies. But we have a pretty free trade agreement. So what is it about building cars in the United States? Why does that make the car better? Why does it make it better for America? I mean, there's a reason why these factories in Canada have a good workforce. The workforce in the U.S. to a large extent is depleted. We have pretty much full employment. Robots are taking the place of workers anyway in these factories. What exactly is the point of all this? The point is Trump's economic ignorance. That is it. That is it. I mean, we just need to accept the fact that Trump has no understanding of economics, and as a consequence, really believes that trade deficits are bad. We have a trade deficit with Canada. By the way, the only reason we have a trade deficit with Canada is we buy a lot of oil from Canada. If we didn't buy oil from Canada, we would have a trade surplus with Canada. But he really has this primitive, a concrete, perceptual level understanding of economics, understanding of trade, and really believes that somehow the United States is being harmed by Canada, which is, moronic, and it's stupid, it's dumb, and it's economically completely and utterly ignorant. Nobody out there. You can argue, maybe, about things like tariffs on China because China is a threat to the United States. Canada is not a threat to the United States. There's no national security issue with Canada. Indeed, Canada solves a lot of our national security problems by providing us with goods that we would otherwise get from China. And yet it's what for years was called friendshoring, bring all the production out of China into friendly countries that will import it, export it to us at basically zero tariffs, zero restrictions. So, and as soon as the market heard about these tariffs, it just crashed again. Now, again, they recovered, I think, off of the news from Ukraine, but I mean, this is it's insane to go through this all the time, to constantly do this. It is. What is going on here? What's that? Huh. All right. Not sure what this is. Can't move this window. Well, all right. So there you are. I mean, it just, and some of you will say, this is great because if we put a high tariff on, for example, aluminum, then we will force the production, the refining of aluminum in the United States. Now, by the way, 72% of all unwrought aluminum imports into the United States came from Canada. Canada is our number one source of aluminum. But let's say we said, no, we want it all in the United States. We want to produce all the aluminum in the U.S. What would that entail? Well, it would require over 440 million megawatt hours of electricity. This is 4.5 times the annual electricity production of the Hoover Dam. 4.5 times. Right? It's enough to power 460 data centers on the entire, or it's enough to power the entire state of Nevada for a year. Where's that power going to come from? Where's that electricity going to come from? And is this the best use? Do we want any excess electricity if we can't produce that much to power data centers? Does it really make sense for the United States to replicate? Right? What is already existing in Canada, which we can already import at these low rates. So it's insanity. And this, by the way, is what a trade war looks like. Insanity on top of insanity on top of insanity. Now, the response is, the next step, of course, is let's negotiate. So it appears that Secretary Ludwig, the Commerce Secretary, has agreed to officially meet with the Premier Ford, who is the Premier of Ontario, in Washington on Thursday, in 2 days, alongside the United States Trade Representative to discuss the renewing of NAFTA in response to this, the willingness of the United States to negotiate, I guess. Ontario has agreed to suspend the 25% surcharge on exports of electricity to Michigan, New York, and Minnesota. There's another reason for the stock market to go up, which means that the new Trump tariffs won't go into effect tomorrow. So talk about whipsaw, talk about uncertainty, talked about what is the point? What are we trying to achieve? What is the end game for all of this? We already have a free trade agreement with Canada. If we wanted it to be even more free trade, couldn't we have just said that and sat down and negotiated? Is this about fentanyl? Is it still about fentanyl? The massive, huge quantities of fentanyl coming in from Canada, or the millions of illegal immigrants, coming across the Canadian Rockies into the U.S. What is this about? What is the purpose? What is the end game? There is no end game. This is just a flexing of muscles. This is just a brute being a brute. This is just a mafioso gangster letting the world know he has big muscles. There's hardly any fentanyl coming in from Canada, and the number of illegal immigrants that come from Canada is close to nothing. Zero. They can beef up border security all they want, and there will be no change to the actual number of migrants coming across. It's pretty astounding, actually, how little illegal immigration comes in from Canada. So what is... Of course, you can cross the Rockies into the United States. You just have to go southwest or southeast. I've been to the Rockies. You can go that way. Of course, you can do it. It's not crossing them east-west, but you can go diagonally. Or you can just go at the top of the Rockies. Right there in Glacier National Park. You can cross right there. You can go through them. You can do all kinds of things. Well, stop baiting me, Ian. Yes, everything's suspended until Ludwig, our Commerce Secretary, who's very pro-tariffs, who likes tariffs, meets with Ford, who is not even the Premier of Canada. What is the point of all this? What are we negotiating for? What is anybody negotiating for? What is to be achieved by all of this? Nothing. There literally is not. I get maybe Mexico. You want them to beef up the border. Okay, you need to put pressure on them. Okay. Cartels. Yeah, okay. I get China. I mean, I think they're all stupid, but I get China. I get the rationale. Canada boggles the mind. It just boggles the mind. Other than Justin Trudeau just pisses Trump off. And Justin Trudeau is a leftist, and therefore Trump hates leftists and MAGA hates leftists, and therefore let's get those Canadians. Let's just screw with Canada because they're leftists. Only rationale I can think of for any of this. So anyway. All right. Let's see if I do that, if I can get rid of this. Now I can get rid of it. Okay. All right. We're good now. Somehow something got messed up. No way we're bringing aluminum production to the United States. It would never happen. Never happen. And this idea of all the tariffs in the world to tariff steel and aluminum from Canada, it just makes U.S. manufacturing industries that actually employ about 10 million people who use steel and aluminum. It's going to make them have to pay higher prices for their steel and aluminum. It's going to reduce their competitiveness in the United States and in global markets for finished goods. It's a way of not shooting yourself in the knee. Steel and aluminum, it's like shooting yourself in the stomach and hitting a vital organ. And then Trump goes on, right? It's not enough. He keeps on tweeting. This one's about the electricity thing. It's like, God, we get electricity from Canada? America gets electricity from Canada? How did that happen? To quote Donald Trump, why would our country allow another country to supply us with electricity, even for a small area? Who made these decisions and why? And can you imagine Canada stooping so low as to use electricity that so affect the lives of innocent people as a bargaining chip and threat? They will pay a financial price for this so big that you will read about it in history books for many years to come. It's going to be the mother of all financial price. You started this, Donald Trump. You started it. This is one of those wars where we know who the aggressor is. You are the aggressor. If every other product is on the table, why wouldn't electricity be on the table? And why does the United States import electricity from Canada? Because Canada's better about building hydroelectric plants. The United States hasn't built one in decades. Canada's better about building nuclear power plants. The United States hasn't built one in decades. Now, hopefully your administration, maybe you should focus on that, will change that. Maybe you should focus on make nuclear power great again, make hydroelectric great again. That would be good. That would be productive. That would move things forward instead of focusing on let's get into a childish schoolyard brawl with our friends in Canada and insult them constantly with no stopping it. I guess this is going to be an ongoing theme because Trump is not going to get any sooner. And trade wars are what he likes to do. And if this continues, this is going to drive the entire global economy into potential recession. It certainly is going to drive financial markets insane. Beware world. Maybe people around him will slowly bring some sanity to the equation. All right, so as you know, the United States government is running out of money. That is, can't borrow any more money. The U.S. is reaching its debt limit. A budget has not been approved for this coming year. And there's a deadline on the weekend of approving a budget, approving some money. Republicans have been working on a budget since they got elected, and they can't agree on anything. So counter to what the Speaker of the House has promised and what Trump has promised and others have promised, they have not been able to come up with a mother of all bills. They have not been able to come up with a bill that extends Trump tax cuts and cuts spending and does all the things that they wanted to do. They don't have enough votes among Republicans to actually do that. They're not negotiating with Democrats about any kind of budget because, the Democrats have no incentive. In the Senate, they haven't been able to come up with any bills, again, in spite of all the promises, in spite of the fact that supposedly there's a 100-day honeymoon and Trump could have really made an effort to get this done. Instead, what the House members are doing is exactly what past Congresses have done and been attacked by Republicans, and that is pass a continuing resolution. That is, instead of actually going through the budgeting process and assigning budgets to different departments and deciding who gets what, they're just going to say, whatever exists now will continue. In other words, whatever Biden approved for spending, we're going to continue to spend. We're going to just push it forward. We're going to continue to do it. Nothing is actually changing. They're going to increase defense spending a little bit, maybe cut a little bit somewhere else, but generally, as I promised you, we will spend more in the future than the past. Now, what happened to DOGE? What happened to budget cuts? I mean, even when you talk about USAID, Yesterday, we talked about Marco Rubio saying 83% of the contracts are gone. But Congress is just about to renew all those contracts. And it's questionable whether Rubio or the executive have the power to stop making payments that Congress has approved. So as Justin Amash says, I'll just read you a quote from him. Today, House Republicans will vote almost unanimously to keep Biden's agenda going with a continued resolution that continues his spending levels and priorities. And House Democrats will go all in on opposing the Biden continued resolution because this time it's Republicans who want it. It's all just theater. Theater that we pay for. Theater at our expense. Theater that the American taxpayer, the American worker, the American citizen is going to pay with ever-growing deficits, ever-growing government spending, and a weaker and weaker economy. And ultimately, down the road, manifest in, higher taxes. Now, one country, right? One congressman has said no to this, and that is Thomas Massie, who is going to vote against the continued resolution. And he tweets here, he says, why don't more representatives, Republicans, stand on principle? Because telling you the truth can get you in hot water. I'm going to need your help. I will run again because we need to at least have one person in Congress who won't cave. Can you still support by contributing? So he's using this to ask for money. This is what Donald Trump wrote, which to try to intimidate Massie. Thank you to the House Freedom Caucus for just delivering a big blow to the radical left Democrats and their desire to raise taxes and shut our country down. Remember, the continued resolution is basically Biden's budget, continued. It's a Democratic budget. He goes on, they hate America and all it stands for. That's why they allowed millions of criminals to invade our nation. So it's all about immigration again. God, he knows how to push people's buttons. Sometimes it takes great courage to do the right thing. Congressman Thomas Massie of beautiful Kentucky is an automatic no vote on just about everything, despite the fact that he has always voted for continued resolutions in the past. He should be primaried, and I will lead the charge against him. He's just another grandstander who's too much trouble and not worth the fight. He reminds me of Liz Cheney before her historic record-breaking loss. The people of Kentucky won't stand for it. Just watch. Do I have any takers? Anyway, thank you again to the House Freedom Caucus for your very important vote. We need to buy some time in order to make America great again, greater than ever before. Unite and win. So Trump threatening Massie, because Massie's the only one who actually will stand up and say, this is a Democratic budget. This is not what I was elected to do. And I don't want to vote for this. Here's another, I think this is either Massie or Justin Amash writing, Rubio canceling woke grants is great, but a legal question remains. Can the administration simply not spend dollars Congress gave to them? Supreme Court will ultimately decide, but last week they initially upheld the lower court decision that is demanding dollars be spent. The best way to incorporate DOGE cuts into overspending is for Congress to appropriate less dollars. Unfortunately, this week Congress will agree to continue spending at Biden levels. This is the Trump administration you asked for, guys. This is it. The Trump administration basically gets into tariff wars with our friends, gets into insulting our allies in Europe and Ukraine, trying to fight for its survival. administration that forces Republicans to vote for an ever-increasing government spending while at the same time pretending to cut costs. This is Donald Trump. This is the Trump administration, all while enthusiastically embracing Vladimir Putin. It is quite something. Worse than not worse than expected. You know, it's about par for the course, I guess. Let's see if All right. What do we want to talk about? Let's talk about Syria. So, some interesting developments in Syria. Over the last few days, the Syrian government, ruled by Islamists, last week, the Syrian government, the Islamists, basically went on a murderous campaign in which they slaughtered Alawites. Alawites are Shiites, a Shiite sect which were part of Assad, Bashar al-Assad, the previous ruler of Syria, was an Alawite. They basically slaughtered women and children who are Alawites, who are, of course, enemies of Sunni Islamists. They also, in the same operation, I guess, slaughtered a bunch of Christians in Syria and were threatening to kill a bunch of Druze. And you know, this is after there was some talk about the Druze and the Kurds ganging up together to try to have a coalition or kind of an autonomous region separate from the Syrian regime that they are very, very worried about. Anyway, this slaughter, which, by the way, nobody seems to have commented on. You know, if you're an Arab, if you're a Muslim and you slaughter a bunch of Christians and a bunch of Shiites nobody cares. The world is silent. There's no demonstrations in Colombia. There are no sit-ins. Tucker Carlson doesn't get all excited and pissed off. It's only when Jews do it or Jews are accused of doing it, that it matters to anybody in the world. Anyway, this happened, and it seems to have really intimidated people or opponents of the Syrian regime, because the reality is that since then, over the weekend, the commander-in-chief of the Syrian Democratic Forces, this is the coalition led by the Kurds, who was anti this regime, actually flew into Damascus and signed a deal with this Islamist leadership to integrate the Kurds into the existing government, into the existing regime, and place the militias that the Kurds have under the new Syrian military, right? By the way, interestingly, this commander-in-chief of the Syrian Democratic Forces, who has been an ally of the United States, the Kurds, was flown into the meeting on a U.S. Army helicopter and received encouragement, let's say, from the Americans to cut a deal with this Islamist regime. So that was over the weekend. Right? And it seems like just before he flew to Damascus to do this, the commander of U.S. Central Command, CENTCOM, General Michael Kurilla, completed a 4-country tour of the Middle East, which included high-level meetings with senior officials in Israel, Jordan, Syria, and Saudi Arabia. And he basically negotiated this deal on behalf of the Syrian government. He got them to do it. He likely met with the commander-in-chief of the SDF. So America's behind this deal. Then it turns out, and this is again, I think, America's doing, that today, or it's today or yesterday, another massive deal was made for the Syrian government. And this time, it's a deal with the Druze community in southern Syria that has sought the protection of Israel. The Jews have agreed, which I find unbelievable, and somebody put a lot of pressure on them to agree to this. And my guess is that This is pressure America put on Israel, Israel put on them. Basically, Israel withdrawing its support and driving them to make a deal with the regime in Damascus. They've agreed to basically fully integrate the Druze majority region into the Syrian state. They've agreed to integrate their military, the Druze military, and all other security apparatuses that they have into the Syrian Ministry of Interior, police, and army. And they've given the Syrian government the ability to appoint a governor as well as a police chief over the area where the Jews live. I mean, this is a complete capitulation by the Jews, who had declared themselves wanting to be independent and wanting Israeli protection and not wanting to have anything to do with the Syrian government. It's hard to believe. I mean, it's clear this is not voluntary. It seems clearly that this is something imposed on them. And the only way to have this imposed on them is the United States putting the screws on Israel, putting the screws on the Jews. And all in the name of a new Islamist state in Syria. So taking it from Iranian control and giving it to local Islamist control, Sunni Islamist control. So this is going to be really interesting. I think this is not good for Israel long term. It's certainly not good for the Kurds and the Druze. We'll see. But it doesn't seem to be good for the Kurds and the Jews long term, unless everybody's really convinced that this new government in Syria is an actually liberal-minded regime that wants peace in the region. It doesn't seem that way. The new president of Syria has basically said that the Arab states need to unite in order to deal with Israel. Anyway, Israel, in the meantime, overnight, carried out strikes in southern Syria, basically realizing that the Jews were basically going to integrate into the Syrian state. Israel targeted radars, detection equipment, as well as military headquarters and weapons systems that are in southern Syria, in the Druze areas, blew them all up so that they did not fall into the hands of the reconstituted Syrian military. Israel is on very high alert on its Syrian border in an effort to kind of make sure that that doesn't become a hostile border to Israel and it doesn't heat up. So it's destroying the new regime's capacity to wage war. That is its intentions. All right, this is a story that's all over the press right now and all over Twitter and everything, and it's a story of Muhammad Khalil, who is a student graduate student on a green card. He already has a green card. He's not on a student visa anymore at Columbia University, and it turns out that Khalil has been organizing, leading the protests in Columbia that have included supporting Hamas, that have included intimidation of Jewish students, that have including occupation of buildings, they've included a whole series of illegal activities. He has, remind you, Hamas is a designated, U.S. designated terrorist organization. Again, he's taken over buildings, he's called for genocide, and he has been arrested by ICE. And proceedings to have him deported started. And there's a real question. A judge has held up those proceedings for now, and there are going to be hearings about this. But there is a big rallying call around this with the idea that he is he's a green card holder, therefore he has protections in the First Amendment, and he cannot be deported for his words, for what he believes. And, this is an interesting question because he's not a citizen yet, but he's not a visa holder. He's a green card holder, and that gives you some rights, but not complete because you're not a citizen. I mean, again, this is a guy, key actor in campus violence, harassment, property destruction. The groups he represented are open about their advocacy of terrorism, violence, openly anti-American. He's openly expressed support for armed resistance. I mean, I don't know. This type of hostility should be the basis of not granting somebody citizenship. Indeed, of asking them to leave. If you're openly hostile to America, you're openly supporting the enemies of America, you shouldn't be allowed into the U.S. And you shouldn't be allowed to stay in the U.S., even if you're on a green card. Now, here, the problem is that the U.S. has not declared, if you will, Islamism, Islamic totalitarianism, as an enemy. We're not at war with Islamic totalitarianism. Because if we were, he could be tried for treason or kicked out of the country for treason. So this isn't an issue of free speech. This is an issue of, should somebody with a green card, should somebody who expects to become an American citizen, is it okay for them to be actively involved, in a sense, in undermining the American system of government, in undermining what American stands for, being openly anti-American and supporting terrorist organizations, and acting it out through violence, harassment, and property destruction? And my answer to that is no. Kick him out. Kick him out. Now, he has to go through the legal process. There's a due process for green card holders. He has more legal protection than if he was on a visa, and that's fine. But from my perspective, he is a national security risk, and that national security risk is enough to justify taking his green card away and removing him from the United States. Now, I hate giving the government that kind of power in the current environment, because who knows who they'll decide is a national security risk tomorrow. But there has to be some standard. And I think unequivocally this guy has crossed it. So I have no sympathies for him if he was just, yeah, I'm pro-Hamas, I'm pro-Palestinian, I think Israel's wrong. Maybe that's a freedom of speech issue. But to be actively advocating for an enemy of the United States, for an organization the United States has listed as a terrorist organization that's committed terrorist attacks against the United States, that the United States should be at war with, should be unacceptable. Unacceptable. And if we were at war, you could then ask how to treat American citizens who take that stand. And we should be at war, and we're not. And the war would be over very quickly, but we should be at war. All right, let's get to some good news. Oh, this is funny news. Funny news. Let me just see. Let me just try something. I want to show you a picture. You see that graph? So I'm putting up a graph. This is a graph that shows the rise in autism cases in the United States. That's the blue line. And the rise of organic fruit sales, that's the red line. I thought this was perfect, right? It's perfect because, you know, correlation is not causation. We keep saying it and saying it and saying it. And here's a good example. Now, maybe it turns out that organic fruit is causing autism. But very unlikely. But this is the equivalent of what RFK is doing. This is the kind of BS that you see people doing all the time. Correlation is causation. So this was put up by a scientist to show how stupid the whole discussion about autism and how stupid it is, how people use statistics. So good for him. This is Andrea Love, who is writing a lot about, what do you call it? Irrationality of the RFK type. All right, so here's a story about pigs that is pretty amazing. So there's a farm in rural Wisconsin that basically houses the most pampered pigs in the world. These pigs are delivered by C-section so that they don't counter any viruses that the sows can carry. They're bottle fed instead of nursing for the same reason, to keep viruses away. They're kept under warming lights. They're monitored around the clock for the first days of their lives, just like babies. They're given toys, marshmallows as treats, but they never go to go outside, and they can't play in the dirt like normal pigs. Now, what's interesting about these pigs is they have, very weak constitutions because they have been genetically engineered. They've been genetically engineered to have kidneys, hearts, and livers that are compatible with the human body. And the idea here is, and they're very small, so they're miniature pigs. The idea here is to take advantage of breakthroughs in cloning and gene editing in order to use these organs for transplants into human beings. As we know, or as you should know, there is a huge shortage of kidneys, hearts, livers, and other organs for human transplant. And this is one way to get around the shortage. We could create a market in them, which would do away with the shortage. Have allow people to sell their organs, but we don't. So next best thing is we could create artificial organs. Artificial organs have not been very successful, not over time. If you just take a regular pig's heart and put it in a human being, the human being rejects it. So what we're doing is genetically engineering the organs inside a pig to not be rejected by the human body and to function as they would if they were human organs. And this is amazing stuff. Amazing stuff. I can just see the animal rights people flipping out over this. But I think it's tremendous. I think it's amazing. I think this kind of science is the kind of science that's going to lead to real improvements in human quality of life, longevity, that is a lengthening of human life, but with high quality at the same time. So, don't be surprised if you're going to meet people soon who have real and who survive and stay with for decades pig hearts, pig livers, pig kidneys, and so on. Pretty crazy stuff. Some more interesting stuff. Okay, so this is a company called Lila Sciences. It went public this month, and the idea is to use AI to revolutionize science. It's a startup in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and they have built an AI to solve scientific issues. So, they have raised $200 million. They've got a team of scientists in Cambridge, I assume from MIT and Harvard. And they've been developing an AI program that's trained on published and experimental data, as well as the scientific method and scientific reasoning, to the extent that you can code that. The startup, it then lets the AI software run experiments in automated physical labs with a few scientists to assist. So they don't tell the AI which experiments to run. They feed it all this content and run an experiment in biology, and it runs an experiment in a lab, all automated, of course with scientists to help out. Already in projects demonstrating technology. They've been able to generate novel antibodies to fight disease and to develop new materials for capturing carbon from the atmosphere. They've been able to run these experiments in physical labs. So it's not just simulations, physical labs. And they've been able to do this at speeds dramatically faster, both in terms of coming up with the hypothesis, experimenting, testing, much faster than you could do it without AI. The idea is to get to the point where you will be able to make hypothesis, experiment, test cycles faster than ever before. And therefore move kind of experimental science faster and faster into the future. This is incredibly, incredible technology, incredible use of AI, exciting, it's going to be interesting to see what all of this adds up to as we move into the future. All right, let's see, what else do we have? I think that is it for today. So we are done. Thanks, everybody. This is the news for Tuesday, March 11th, and we will now shift to our Q&A part of the show, where I answer your questions. Not a lot of questions today. I guess you guys got tired by the 2 shows yesterday and all the questions you asked yesterday, but not a lot of questions, not a lot of super chat. I will remind you, we do have targets. We have not met the first hour targets, never mind the second hour targets. So I am looking for some people to step up with maybe some stickers to get us going here and to increase the support. Also, with some additional questions to keep the show going. We could go 3 hours today, but it doesn't look like we have enough questions to be able to go that long. We'll go as long as you have questions, guys. So bring them on. Keep them coming. All right, let's start with. Before we do that, let me remind you of our sponsors. We have Alex Epstein, alexepstein.substack.com. Alex, world authority on all things energy related, fossil fuel related, environmentalism, and climate change. You will find some of the best analysis of the challenges we face and the solutions to challenges. Alex definitely spends time on solutions, just not on the problems. He seems to have some influence within the Trump administration, so those solutions might actually be pushed to the test. Alex Epstein.substack.com. I think you'll really enjoy and learn a lot from reading Alex. I expect we'll have him on the show sometime in the next couple of months for a chat. You get his assessment on how Secretary of the Energy is doing and what he sees in terms of progress in terms of energy with the Trump administration. Also, the Ayn Rand Institute is seeking scholarship applicants, serious students of Objectivism, of Ayn Rand's philosophy, and finding students who are interested in coming to OCON, but who can't afford it. You can apply for a scholarship. Scholarships applications are available at aynrand.org/start-here, aynrand.org/start-here. OCON is a lot of fun and educational. This year, it's shorter than usual, but there'll still be a lot of talks. And you still get to hang out with people who share your values for the most part, and the faculty, and you'll learn a lot. And yeah, it's going to be a blast. And it's Boston, 4th of July weekend, 1st to the 5th of July. Go to aynrand.org/start-here to fill out a scholarship application for OCON. Also want to remind you that I will be in London in 2 weeks And on the 29th of March, that is almost just a little less than 3 weeks from now, it's a Saturday, I will be doing a 4-hour-long seminar on, pursuing rational egoism, what it means to be a rational egoist in career, in relationship, in life, in how to gain the self-confidence, the self-esteem that is required, that you really need in order to achieve happiness. We'll talk about these issues, the application of the objectivist ethics to life, to your life. It'll be a relatively small group. It'll be, it'll be very interactive. You will have direct access to me, and, we won't be taping it, so it can be pretty personal. We can get into personal issues that you have, and we can discuss the best way to apply the ethics, to apply the ideas of philosophy to living life. It's going to be on the 29th in central London. I'm hoping, those of you who are in the UK, come on over. I know that a few of you have already booked. We've got a few people already signed up. So I think it's very, very highly likely that this is going to happen. I think we're going to reach our minimum very quickly here. But there's more room. There's more room. We can do this. I will be raising prices. I will be raising prices on Monday. So the price right now is £250. It will go up to $400. I decided to use dollars because PayPal and uses dollars. So go to yaronbrookshow.com. On yaronbrookshow.com, you can find the information, right, about how to sign up. There's a button there, register here, that you can click on. It'll take you to a PayPal website where you can sign up. Let me just see here. 1 second. That's not what I want. Not what I want. I want this. All right. I'm trying to figure out. I think there's a way. Who's asking? I think, Tom, I think there's a way for you to do this on Patreon. I'll answer you on LinkedIn, but I think there's a way to register on Patreon if PayPal for some reason is not working for you. If anybody has problems with PayPal, let me know. I mean, you can also bring me cash at the event itself, or there's a lot of ways to do this, but the main thing is just for me to know that you want to attend and you plan on paying. But if you let me know before I raise the price to $400, then it'll make it easy. Let me just see if I can find the website. That's not it. That's not it. Okay, I will figure out how to do this and let you know and give you an alternative to PayPal, Tom. All right, so don't forget, if you're UK, please sign up. I think it'll be a good event, and we will have fun. I promise fun. What else do I have to announce? If you're, by chance, in Williamsburg, North Carolina next week on Monday, I will be speaking at the university. Again, you can find information on that on yaronbrookshow.com. It is a talk that's open to the public. It is going to be on the morality of finance. Come on over, join us. It should be a really good event. That is on the 17th, so Monday next week in Williamsburg. And then I'll have information on other events that open to the public in other parts of the world as we move through the month. All right, let's see. We are now going to turn to Superchat, reminding you we have goals. And so I'm looking for support, value for value. You can sign up on Patreon and support me monthly. You can do it on PayPal monthly. But one way, if you're here and you can ask a question, or even if you don't want to ask a question, you can support right now, value for value right now on Patreon, on Super Chat, on YouTube. Those of you who are on X, there's like 234 people listening on X. You can come over to YouTube and participate and show your support by doing a sticker or asking a question. Okay, Oyvind from Norway. Today I'm the bearer of good news. Firstly, I got a promotion at work. Excellent, congratulations. My life has been boom, supersonic since being introduced to Objectivism, and I'm still learning and applying the different parts of my life. You should come from Norway. You should come to London to do my seminar. That'd be fun. Congratulations, Oyvind. That is fantastic. Secondly, Buffett sent $500 million to Ukraine. People lose interest over time. This is Buffett. So keeping this going is tough and is going to be one of the biggest mistakes the U.S. makes historically if we don't continue to support Ukraine. I think he's right. But this is not Warren Buffett, by the way. This is his son, who I guess controls some of the charitable part of the wealth, the Buffett wealth. I think this was his son who contributed $500 million to Ukraine. Thank you, Oyvind, for the good news, and congratulations for the promotion. Michael, Trump and Musk are such a wasted opportunity. They have all three branches of government. They could make serious progress towards a free market agenda. Instead, they are childish statists setting our movement back 20 years. Well, it's not our movement, so they're not setting anything we're doing back 20 years. They're setting the country back 20 years. But also, I think it's more. It's more than they just have the three branches of government. The country was willing to go radical in a positive direction. It was willing to accept structural change. It was willing to listen to some radical thoughts, I think, if they had presented them properly and if they had been moving towards kind of more freedom, or at least making kind of an argument that it's moving towards more freedom. And in that sense, that is a huge opportunity they have indeed missed. They have refused to move the country in that kind of direction. Instead, they're wasting their time on really childish nonsense, on breaking stuff for the sake of breaking stuff. So I agree with you completely. It's a huge missed opportunity. There was really energy to do something new, to do something radical, to do something different that was good. And instead, they're doing new and different and radical, not so radical, that's all bad, or almost all bad. Catherine, what do you think happens if the U.S. takes Greenland by military force? How this will develop in the next years? It's hard to tell. I mean, Europeans are going to be really pissed off at the United States. There's a good chance NATO breaks apart. I don't think, Denmark is going to seek kicking the U.S. out of NATO. So I don't think anybody's going to attack the U.S. because of it, but I do think it means that the relationship between the United States and Europe, which is already not great, gets really hammered and becomes really, really challenging. And this will expand into a kind of a trade war, and the other thing that'll happen, and I think it's already happening, is Europe will move to be friendlier to China. You're already seeing that with Ukraine. Do you know that China, for the first time, is sending delegations to Ukraine, and it's said that Ukraine should be at the table to negotiate the peace deal. It's reporting from the front line in Ukraine for the first time since the war began. China is sensing an opportunity to take, if you will, America's allies from it and make them China's allies, or at least have warmer relations with China than they have in the past. So I think it's stuff like that. We're not going to go to war with Europe, but it's going to really, really, really destroy our relationship with Europeans. Catherine, that was her 5th super chat on a live stream. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Stephanie, I think Stephanie's first ever super chat. Thank you, Stephanie. Hey, Yaron, I saw your interview yesterday and you studied at UT. Yes. I plan on moving to Austin and starting my career in architecture there. Do you have any advice or recommendation about Austin? Love the show. Yeah, I mean, Austin's a great city. I think it's a really fun city. There's a lot going on in Austin. It has a great restaurants. It has a good music scene, a great music scene. It is a kind of a fun place, a very casual, very cosmopolitan place to live in Austin itself. Some of the best places to live outside of Austin in various neighborhoods, new towns that have been developed to the south and north, primarily northwest of Austin. So it's the cost of real estate is relatively moderate as compared to some other places. It's much higher than it used to be in Austin, but it's moderate as compared to other places in the United States. I think it's got a nice downtown. It never used to. The downtown it didn't exist. And now there is a lively downtown with jazz clubs and restaurants and stuff like that. It's very hot and humid in the summer. July, August, half of September can be very oppressive, even starting in June. But the rest of the year, it's very, the weather's wonderful. You might get maybe 3 weeks in the year where it's very cold, but that's it. The rest of the time, it's really beautiful, and there's some amazingly beautiful winter days in Austin. People are really nice, friendly, Texas friendly. Yeah, so it's a really nice place to live. Now, I lived there a long time ago, and it's changed a lot. It's probably tripled in size since I lived there. But I think it's still held a lot of those qualities, and I visit Austin quite frequently. Although it's been a while now, I used to visit Austin quite frequently. The other thing is, there are a lot of objectivists in Austin. A lot, probably more than any other city in the United States. So there's a lot going on. There's a lot of activities. There's a lot of social stuff going on among objectivists. And then, of course, the Ayn Rand Institute is building an Ayn Rand center, museum and library and headquarters of the Ayn Rand University is all going to be in Austin as well. So Austin is just a great place, just a great place. Good luck with the move. I think it's a great place to do architecture. There's always buildings going up. There's always construction. It's not like some places that are stagnant and dormant. Austin is vibrant and growing. No, $50, Canadian dollars. Thank you. Oh, we still accept Canadian dollars in this show. Don't worry. We are not placing a tariff on Canada. We embrace Canada as our friend. And, at the end of the day, I agree with Trump, kind of. I also think Canada should be part of the United States. I don't think threats are the way to do it. I don't think under Trump is the way to do it. But in a laissez-faire capitalist America, we would invite Canadian provinces to join us. The more join, the better. I think there's a real benefit. I know says, maybe Trump doesn't like the look of Canada riding the elephant's back, the U.S. on the map. Italy kicked into Sicily kind of thing. If he was Sicilian, he would be pissed about that. It's the same beef he has about the Gulf of Mexico. I mean, it's a joke, but there's something to that. They're like further north than us. They're like sitting on top of us. And they have all those natural resources. And they sit on the Northern Passage. They're strategically located. I mean, Canada's better than Greenland. If you can accept the Canadians, But yeah, I think for all of those reasons, he kind of, I think the natural resources, but I think he's trolling Canadians and, of course, the detriment of the United States and Canada. But the troll is what matters. And, of course, the fact that Canada is so leftist under Trudeau incentivizes him and really motivates motivates MAGA to support this kind of stupidity and nonsense. It's not that it takes much to get MAGA to support stupidity and nonsense. All right, let's see. John, recall how Howard Hughes accomplished so many things but later became unhinged? Yeah. I mean, he was mentally completely ill and lived in isolation the last decade or two of his life. I mean, there's no question Musk seems to... I don't think he sleeps enough. He's probably on drugs. He just seems to completely have lost the plot. He's completely unhinged. Calling Mark Kelly a traitor? I mean, it's just over the top nonsense. Hopper Campbell, Blake, Scholl and Boom make me very optimistic. In less than a decade, Blake could become extremely famous. He could be the world's first objectivist big shot. That is possible. Let's hope it happens. That would be truly amazing. That would be truly amazing. Blake's a good guy. Thomas, hey, Yaron, when are you establishing concepts? How you can tell you're being objective versus rationalizing? How do you tell if someone is rationalizing? Well, I mean, it's the same method whether you're doing it to yourself or you're doing it to somebody else. To what extent are they connecting their ideas, what they're saying, their concepts, the reason that they're giving to reality, to actual facts? To what extent is their argument consistent with not other arguments, but with the facts of reality, with what it is on the ground? And I think that is, that is the test that you have to put yourself through. Do I think this because Yaron said it? Or do I think this because I've deduced it from objectivist principles? Or do I think this because given my principles, given my objectivist principles, this is the integration I've come to in reality, from the facts of reality? So you have to apply the methodology to the concretes. And you have to be able to reduce it to the concretes. And you have to show in reality where it comes from. That's the challenge. Ryan says, midterm elections seem so far away. Save us, Yaron. We're not going to be saved. This is what Americans wanted. This is what Americans are going to get. You get what you pay for. It's sad for many of us, but we're just going to have to live with this. And the midterms are not going to save us, because even if Democrats win the House, they probably won't win the Senate. But even if they win the House, what does that give you? Not much. Not much. Even more yelling and screaming back and forth. Ryan, I have to reduce my super chat amounts because markets are in turmoil and my contracts are being canceled. Contraction across the board. Wow. I hate to hear that. That contract. I mean, the markets go down. Fine. We're all in the same boat, and markets hopefully will come back up at some point. You just have to be patient and have a long-term perspective. Hopefully you don't need the money that's in the markets right now anytime soon. But contracts being canceled, that is not good, and that's a challenge. So good luck, Ryan, with the contracts. Enric, advice for staying focused, clear, and conclusive on the ideas presented to those skeptical and antagonistic. I think I think the main thing here is a focus on reality, not a focus on the people, not a focus on their skepticism, antagonism, or on emotions, or on the challenge, or how difficult it is, or anything like that, but just a very, very real dedication to reality, real dedication to truth, and a focus on that, on truth and reality, and not letting the noise and the personalities and the people distract you from that, and the fact that they're skeptical and antagonistic. Just what's actually going on? What's reality? What's the truth? Hey, Yaron, do you have any big goals or benchmarks for the year? Not enough people make personal and professional goals, help to move forward something. Yeah, I mean, most of my goals are around increasing income from the show, figuring out how to do that. This is why I'm encouraging you guys to really support the show on Patreon. I want to get to 40,000 subscribers sooner rather than later, and start really chugging along to 50. But at the end of the day, I need to live off this show, and so it's important for me that the support increases. It's where it is right now is not quite where it needs to be. So most of my goals are around how do we increase subscribers and how we increase income from the Yaron Brook Show. And I'm trying to figure out how to add products, but I'm doing so much, it's hard, basically doing a show a day. But also, it's hard because of my travel schedule. I'm traveling a lot, so I need to figure out how to juggle all those things. But yeah, I mean, my hope is that we can increase revenue directly from the show by 20% this year. That is my goal. And that's going to require more than Superchat, keeping up. It's going to require more and more and more people to support the show on Patreon. Just go to patreon.com/ and search Yaron Brook Show, or PayPal. That's where the bulk of the revenue comes, and that's where we're going to have to see some nice increases, nice sustained increases. Esoteric dichotomy, thank you. Okay, Jeff, you talk about beaches a lot. I don't see the beauty of looking out at nothingness of the ocean. The beauty of the coastline from a boat looking at the land is another story. Thoughts? I find the ocean, I grew up next to the ocean, next to the sea. I find the ocean incredibly calming, relaxing. And when it's rough, when the ocean is rough, I find it dramatic and fun to watch. I find the whole process super relaxing. I love looking at the ocean. I love looking out at the ocean as just something to relax for. And the ocean is constantly changing the colors. From my condo, we see the ocean and the lagoon, and it's constantly changing colors, constantly it has different waves are different. The wind is blowing in different ways. I mean, it's always interesting and fun to look out, but mainly it's relaxing. But also beach is, sun and barefoot and, as nude as you can get in a I guess civilized place. So sun on your back, and even if you sit in the shade, the sun everywhere, and sand, and just a certain sense of relaxation. You can go out and swim in the ocean, although swimming the ocean is not great for swimming. Just going in the water, the cool sensation when you get in the water, and it's just enjoyable. The whole process is enjoyable, being in the ocean with friends or family, there's just a lot about it that's fun and relaxing and enjoyable. Benjamin, in a liberal economy, how would one ensure everyone grows up and lives with safety? Doesn't welfare ensure a safe society for productivity to go? Well, who is unsafe? I just don't get why anybody should be unsafe. It's the job of the police, the job of the justice system, the legal system, to protect us from crooks and criminals and murderers and muggers and people like that. and I don't see why a free market, a free society would be any less safe. I think it would be a lot more safe, because that's the only thing government would be responsible for, than a welfare state. I think the welfare state actually encourages crime. It institutionalizes people into poverty and creates a criminal mentality among people. So crime is actually higher because of the welfare state. So I'm not sure what's unsafe about freedom and in a free market society. Now, if you're worried, this is, by the way, Benjamin's first super chat, so thank you. If you're worried about, people are worried about income, a truly free society without a welfare state and with no regulation is much, much richer than the society we have today. So, everybody has a lot more. So poverty is for anybody who's willing to work for a living and anybody who's willing to put in the effort, is non-existent. And the opportunities to be productive are many, many times greater than what we have in our welfare societies today, where so little capital is actually being invested in productive activities. And so much of the capital is just being redistributed and goes to unproductive activities. At every dimension, a free market society is more productive and better. So if you think about education, in a free market, if you had true free market education, then the education people got would be much, much better. That means they would be a lot better prepared for life and a lot better prepared for being productive. So at every dimension, at every level, healthcare would be better, housing would be better. In every dimension, material life would be better. And therefore, there would be more opportunities for you as an individual to make whatever you want from your life. So safety would be much higher by every dimension you could imagine in a truly free society. All right. I think we are done. A little short of our goals, but we did very well yesterday, so I'll not chastise you too much. Thank you, guys. Appreciate all the super chatters. Appreciate the questions. Appreciate the support. I'll be back tomorrow. Not sure exactly what time tomorrow. We might actually do it an hour later than today. So again, my schedule varies. We might do it at 4 p.m. East Coast time tomorrow. We'll see how that works. And then we'll have shows continuing the rest of the week. And there'll probably be a show on Saturday. And Yaron Brook Show continues on course. Remember, if you're in the UK, come join my seminar. It'll be a lot of fun and a lot of personal time with me. And don't forget to support the show on Patreon or on PayPal. Yaron Brook Show, on either one of those, you should become a monthly supporter. That is the best way to support this show if you enjoy it. See you guys tomorrow. Bye, everybody.